Makinamukin, Miss India Canada 2011. Welcome to Niagara Falls, Ontario. If you take a look over there, you can see the Canadian horseshoe of the falls. If you look straight down there, you get to see the American side. And here we go with the rain. Unpredictable weather here in Canada.
The biggest, the brightest, the best. Canada's a country of superlatives, eagerly embraced by all who come here.
I was pretty excited of this thought that I will be going to Canada.
We were smitten by the beauty of the country.
Fewer people, much cleaner, less polluted.
I'll see the prairies, black soil, and I'll see the Niagara Falls.
Canada, which means village in Iroquois, has developed a reputation of extending a welcome to all. And adding spice to this global village is its large Indian diaspora. Canada's rich cultural diversity is echoed in India, an ancient civilization that also became a colony of the British Empire that held dominion over Canada. What drew them here was Canada's incredible natural bounty in gold, furs, and timber, protected only by Native Americans who were no match for European military might.
Actually, the first European settlers in Canada were French, followed by the British, and there was a struggle between the two of them, and the British eventually were successful.
The extraction of Canada's natural resources gained pace in the 19th century, when the British established an extensive railway system to connect the hinterland to the ports. The sheer quantity of labor required opened doors for Asian emigration.
At the same time, we needed more people to come and help farm, to mine, to work in the forest industry and things of that nature. Of course, India being part of the British Empire at the time, we looked at countries within that grouping to encourage those people to come to Canada as well.
The forestry industry needed bigger people, and the Punjabi Sikhs were perfect.
So they started coming, and the numbers were small at first, but then they grew.
For many people, especially living in rural areas like rural Punjab, I mean, coming to Canada is a great opportunity, an opportunity where your hard work will pay off.
With hope shining in their eyes, thousands of young, robust Indian men set sail towards this distant land. Prepared to go any distance, work harder on lower wages, these young men soon earned the reputation of being the best employees.
The only reason that they accepted the Punjabis, or because they were hard workers, instead of using a horse and buggy to pull lumber, they did it on their own shoulders. I can only imagine what all those people went through. It must have been horrible, because they had to sleep in barns with the animals and everything else. But people like my father, they persevered all the trials and tribulations of life here.
100 years on, this perseverance has paid off. People like Jack Uppal are proud owners of the sawmills their fathers and grandfathers toiled in. Hard work, dedication, and a will to survive has seen them through tough times. Today, they are seen in every aspect of Canadian life and are amongst Canada's most successful minorities. Families like the Johals have established roots, both professional and personal. Helming a multinational empire, this Vancouver success story started out in India, which they still keep alive in this western frontier of Canada.
It's hard for our generation, I think, to teach our kids the Indian culture because they go to school. It's mixed, so there's a lot of different cultures, but we try really hard to instill, I guess more so through the grandparents.
When I'm in India, I say I want to go home. That means Canada. When I'm in Canada, I say I want to go home. And that's India. And if somebody asks me, where's your home? I still go back to my Indian home. Yes, my roots are there.
The richness of Manjeet's dual heritage is echoed in the laughter shared with her family in her adopted home. But less than a century ago, her forefathers enjoyed no such comfort.
The anti-Asian lobby in British Columbia succeeded in getting regulations put in place that stopped almost all immigration from India.
Indians now needed to embark on a continuous journey, using a single ticket and also have $200 with them on arrival. Both these conditions were nearly impossible to fulfill until the Komagata Maru.
A man called Gurdit Singh, who's a Sikh businessman living in Singapore, hires a ship, sells one-way tickets to 375 Indian passengers, and the Komagata Maru arrives in Vancouver on May 23rd, 1914.
And so they spent 2 months simply sitting out in the harbor at Vancouver, well out from shore, looking at the city, but never seeing it up close.
Despite a bitter legal battle, the Komagata Maru was turned away. For Vancouver's tiny Indian community, this was the beginning of a battle to ensure their right to make Canada home.
The Indians fought really important battles for equality and social justice in Canada.
Then it was a fight to ensure that the right to vote was extended to all Canadians, not just Europeans.
You couldn't work for a municipality if you weren't a voting citizen. You couldn't take out a timber license if you weren't a voting citizen.
Not ones to give up easily, pioneer groups like the Gadar movements and the Khalsa Diwan Society made decade-long efforts to secure voting rights, without which Indians were denied the ability to enter the professions or get municipal jobs. Finally, in the year of Indian independence in 1947, they made a breakthrough.
Khalsa Diwan Society ਨੇ ਪੂਰੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਆਂ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ VOTING ਦਾ ਰਾਈਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਚਾਈਨੀਜ਼ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਜੈਪਨੀਜ਼ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਮੁਸਲਿਮ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਦੀਵਾਨ ਸੋਸਾਇਟੀ ਨੇ VOTING ਰਾਈਟ ਲੈਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਹਿਮ ਭੂਮਿਕਾ ਨਿਭਾਈ
Instead of being second-class citizens, we became first class just like the rest of the people here in Canada.
Today, we are expanding the definition of what it means to be Canadian, ensuring there's a space for all cultural traditions in the most iconic of Canadian symbols.
When you think of Canada, you think about the Mountie in his red serge. And when I came to serve in the RCMP, I asked to be allowed to serve with my turban because I'm a Sikh and I practice my faith.
Canada supported his right to practice his religion and gave him the honor of becoming the first turban Mountie.
I think as a country we matured through that and was able to find some understanding and awareness, and I think we've done really well.
Constantly renegotiating the role they play in the society they live in, Indians have come a long way, from migrants to citizens, and now to citizens effecting positive change.
Something in kind of the Indian culture that we definitely have democracy built into us.
It is this quality that has seen so many Indians throw themselves in their communities and engage in active politics.
You're never going to take India out of me. I'm always going to be an Indian. But I think that if you want to make your life better in this society, you have to then function as a Canadian. Talk about the issues that affect Canadians at large.
This increased engagement with local issues had international ramifications. Canada opened up to the world, focused on attracting the brightest and the best.
In the late 1960s and early 70s, Canada was a very exciting place. This open, bilingual, multicultural, progressive country that had enormous aspirations for itself. I wanted to come to North America because that's where, in those days at least, that's where the leadership in science and technology was.
I came to Canada because I wanted to study.
I all have come to make money here and a better life.
For us, economics was a reason, but that was more than that was professional.
I migrated because of love. I met a Canadian in Delhi, and we subsequently got married.
1964, when I came to Canada, that was about the time that Canada was starting to really establish its founding principles of multiculturalism.
It was different. I never expected what was about to hit me, really.
What shocked me was, of course, the winter.
I was looking all around, all I could see was white.
It was minus 15.
You can imagine how frozen, the freezing that feeling is.
Besides the climate being very, very different and difficult, there was an adjustment.
यहाँ आकर दोबारा establish करने के लिए पाँव पे खड़े होने के लिए 2-2, 3-3 jobs भी करनी पड़ी.
We used to just try to make ends meet. I mean, I remember delivering pizzas.
The biggest challenge for me was I really missed India. I missed India so much. I mean, I missed the monsoons. I missed chaat and Bengali market. I missed the food. I missed the comfort of home.
चलन अपना फबन अपनी मरूनु मार आया सी जिना तो दौड़ के मैं सत समुंदर पार आया सी.
I could walk for hours on streets and see nobody walking. You know, everybody would be in cars. And sometimes I used to think, if I screamed, would anybody hear me? Would anybody stop? You know?
Used to the hustle and bustle of India, adapting to a land of endless serenity was difficult, but not impossible.
Canada was a home that was actually not a home that I chose, but became a home.
I think slowly, you get more and more comfortable, you build confidence.
And then over time, you develop friendships, your fears and concerns dissipate.
Then you see yourself through that tough time and you are on to some good times.
As Indians established themselves economically, they felt the need to express themselves, share a little of who they were and where they came from, with a Canada only too eager to welcome them. Today, young artists like pop singer Shweta Subram are in the vanguard of melding the East with the West.
सोनी रातों में गुम है दिल ये मेरा सवालों में क्यों है तन्हा Let it go, जाने दो, जीले जीले खुल के जीले 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 खुल के जीले 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 खुल के जीले जीले.
At the end of the day, I believe that music is a universal language, and that's what I'm doing with my music. I've taken mainstream music, I've taken urban beats, I've taken a bit of Bollywood, and I put it all together, I meshed it together. In fact, non-Indians, non-South Asians here really love and enjoy Bollywood.
But life for Shweta is not all about Bollywood and music videos. Her music's roots run deeper. And away from the glitz and glamour in a Toronto apartment, we get a glimpse of the girl behind the makeup.
A lot of what you learn in life is at a young age, and that's very much something I've carried on, even for my music, even when I sing. So for me to keep in touch with the Indian culture was not difficult, because I come from a family that really has very strong roots to the Indian culture.
Another young artist bridging the distance between India and Canada with his pictures is Jai Panisar. Jai's pictures, along with canvases of other upcoming artists of Indian origin, finds space in this unique exhibit in Canada.
India is really India. There's a lot of different things there, and a lot of people don't know about it. That's what I've kind of brought here and showed it to people.
Once people get to know India, they're happy to claim little bits of it as their own.
I grew up, believe it or not, listening to Muhammad Rafi. I love music from all over the world, but India have that special part in my heart.
Brought together by a love of music and a sense of belonging to multiple worlds, Ibrahim, Samida, and Ravi come to explore common ground and a common sound in this band called Sharbat, a word that's come to both India and Africa via Arabia.
There was the outside world with my friends in school and everything, so I was hearing everything. Then when I would go home, it would be more of a Maharashtrian sort of setup and family. So I had all those influences, but I was really intrigued by Indian classical music. I found that it helped me maybe connect to my roots.
I had two lives, you know. At home, I spoke one language, I behaved a certain way, ate a certain kind of food, and listened to a certain kind of music. Outside the house, totally different life, you know. And I think musically, for me, doing this has kind of been my way of those two sides meeting.
Today, all Canadians have the opportunity to learn ancient cultural traditions such as Bharatnatyam and Kalari that are brought to life for them by choreographer Lata Pada.
To a large extent, my passion and my efforts have always been about demystifying India and demystifying Indian dance so that they don't see it as something that they just watch on a stage, but they see it for its truly deep and rich values.
There used to be a real dialogue about cultural appropriation and you're this Caucasian woman doing Indian dance. And I'm like, how can you tell me, when I grew up watching Indian dance in my country, that that's not available to me, because that's part of my culture.
It's no longer that one would say that a Canadian that is not of another origin wants to just know about other cultures. Is that now we all make up this country.
Art has become so popular and so much bridge between these two countries to have those kind of connection. First came art, then other things have followed, and now, of course, nobody thinks of snake charmers only. It is India. They have great respect for Indians.
A respect that's greatly increased in the last decade that's seen India open its doors to foreign trade and post-record growth rates. After all, we are looked at as future superpowers, one that all Canadians are eager to engage.
We are two of the largest countries in the world. We have a lot to share on the innovation front, on the technology front, to improve the productivity of companies, businesses in both countries.
Canada has resources, which are something that Indians want access to, and we would like access to the Indian market.
One of the strengths that we bring to the table when we travel to India is such a strong Indo-Canadian population and influence for good here in Ontario. So when I go over to India, I'm bringing with me generally a strong contingent of Indo-Canadian business people, successful business people.
Indo-Canadian entrepreneurs and business houses have long experienced the success that India is now enjoying. Names like Skylink, ATN Networks touch the lives and livelihoods of many.
I have to say that the policy of this country and the government has been very commendable. That they were able to recognize the strengths that we brought, to the table, and they were able to endorse the concept.
No longer confined to small shops and restaurants, over the last 4 decades, Indo-Canadians have revitalized the economy.
You have those two dimensions to the business contribution. The people have done very well in the established corporate Canada, and the others who are creating the new innovative ideas that are helping the economy boom.
There is an incredible resiliency among Indians. We find ways. Bijli nahi hai, if the electricity is not there, we would put a generator in our house. If the water is not running, from the city's water supply, we will put a hand pump in the backyard, and so on. And I think that has helped Indians succeed across the world.
People coming to the country who saw the opportunity understood that they had to work very, very hard to achieve something. And I think that that's really the strength of the community, and that's really why people have achieved as much as they have.
Years ago, I came to Canada to open up a branch office in Canada. So I had a very small office, one room office, 10 by 10 with one secretary. And from there onwards, it's just pure hard work and God's blessings to where we are today.
Considered North America's best airline consolidator, Skylink operates across the world in the toughest situations.
We are called during tsunamis, earthquake. Skylink Aviation's most dangerous mission, I think, was in Sarajevo. We had to do some aerial food drops, but they were being shot at all the time. So we've been in some rough spots in the world. But somebody's got to do that job also. Canada rewards people who have worked hard, who deliver back to the nation.
And these rewards have been amply repaid.
We came in a job, but we have given many more jobs.
You've got individuals who are doing business at a every day and unclocked by governments. You've got SMEs that are starting to follow global supply chain. And then you've got large companies that are discovering one another.
If you look around anywhere, it's the Indian people who are opening up new businesses. They're into the new housing construction.
Transportation, industry, trade, commerce, economics, every field that you can think of, there are people in the Indian diaspora who have excelled.
There's a sizable, large and growing, very vibrant Indian community in Canada, South Asian community in Canada, and it's a key component of the growth story that is Canada.
India is not just on streets and homes, in universities and offices, but in every heart in Canada.
From the Indians that I know, they're always very happy, like make the moment that you are really happy, like they're always lively and friendly, so.
The cultural element that I've picked up growing up, or growing up around the Indian community is their sense of family values. They've taught us to kind of embrace our own culture, because you see that with their dress, the food, it's been so weaved into our culture now.
I always say I'm Indian on the inside, so I'm now cooking Indian food. I'm cooking dal and these things. India has become such an important part of my life. Even everything I'm wearing is from India.
India का है ना भटूरा, chana bhatura, biryani. Oh my goodness. मेरा पिताजी है चीन. Still, I like India, my best country in the world. I like to see Mudwala, Nargis, Meena Kumari, my favorite.
It's very spicy, but I like it.
The jhumkis and tumkas, the bindis and sequins, 100 years have passed since the first Indians came to Canada. Yet, it's the second and third generation that carry the baton forward.
The way that we have our weddings, or the way that we listen to our music, or the way that we dance, all these things you kind of embrace and you enjoy when you're older. Whereas younger, if it's not the kind of standard form, it's a little bit different, and therefore you question why it's different.
I already was very aware of the whole Canadian culture, just simply because going to school here and everything exposed me very quickly to that aspect of life. And my parents also did a good job of making me a very balanced person to be able to understand and recognize Indian culture and be comfortable with that culture as well.
I feel like a good mix. I feel like when I go to India, I'm completely desi, totally Indian. When I'm here, the Canadian comes out.
It's this innately desi warmth that's not only captured in this wedding, but also captures the hearts of non-desis participating. This subtle intermingling of cultures is what adds breathtaking detail to the canvas that is Canada.
It's been a very nice experience getting to know that side of a different culture like that completely.
Elsewhere in the world, it would be rare for an Indian and a Ukrainian to come together under one roof. But Nisha's marriage to Steve is proof of how two disparate cultures can come together to create a family that's quintessentially Canadian.
Every time I look in a book, I look for the Indian flag and the Ukrainian flag because I know that's where my mom and dad came from.
Well, the first thing was the food. When I went over to her parents' house to have supper, the food was tremendously different. It was very spicy. I wasn't used to eating spicy food, so that was a bit of an adjustment. But I tried the food and I found it really interesting. And I guess food is always a gateway to culture. You learn about a person's culture through their food.
Marrying an Indian might be the best way to be assured of your daily dose of curry. But for the motivated, a friendly neighbor and the Indian corner store is almost as good.
From 73 till present time, I've seen people attempt to live in peace and harmony, and they're embracing each other's culture really, really fast.
The eagerness to learn and a willingness to teach are perhaps key ingredients to a successful afternoon of cooking in Shashi's kitchen. Peppered, of course, with secret tips and a generous dollop of fun and laughter.
I think that the acceptance of any culture, whether it's Indian or any culture, grows from knowing someone, knowing a family, and finding out their traditions and what they're really like. Then you really become interested in it and you want to find out more.
And finding out more means accepting more, adopting more.
You don't really think of somebody as being Indian anymore. They're just slightly different than you, but they're Canadian. This is to us. Cheers.
Scratch the surface of superficial differences, and what lies beneath is a world of similarity, as this French-Canadian and Indian couple have discovered.
We're very warm people. I think from the Quebec side, people are like that, and us Indians are always been, we can grab people just from the street and say, come on in, have some chai.
It's normal for us Canadians to embrace every culture. We're brought up with it, and I think we're richer because of it.
Giving life to Chantal's words is a band led by a husband. Galicha, or Tapestry, encompasses almost all of Canada. The Indian, the French, the Chinese, and the Jewish, all in one evening's performance.
J'entends la moulin, tic tic tac, j'entends la moulin, tac. Mon père a fait bâtir maison, l'a fait bâtir à trois pignons, tic 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 tac.
The French culture itself, some of the songs actually were attractive to me because they sounded very Punjabi type.
In my teens, I heard tabla on a recording. So I was like, wow, what's this sound? What is this drum? So I looked in the CD notes and I read all the instrument names, and the only one I didn't know what it was called was tabla. So I said, okay, so this sound must be tabla.
Hanji, I know when he's talking on the phone, I know Hanji acha. Tiga, tiga. That's all he says when he talks on the phone.
I think the idea of Galicha makes a lot of sense in Canada, that it reflects the Canadian culture, which is an international culture.
As a new dawn arrives, Indians in Canada come together to celebrate the fact that they are as Canadian as they can be, yet as Indian as they wish to be. And joining them in this celebration is all of Canada.
I'm here to celebrate Independence Day with Indo-Canadians, 65th anniversary of Indian independence.
You can participate in virtually every aspect of life, and you don't have to give up your traditions. You don't have to give up your culture and your faith and your way of life. So I think that we've developed a very comfortable relationship here where Indians feel at home.
When we were younger, it was always about fitting in into the society and being one of everybody else. But as time has gone on, we've been able to branch out and be our own and show everybody that we love who we are, we're excited about our culture.
When two continents collide, the ecosystem that forms under the ocean, in the ocean bed, it's the richest. And I think that's how I feel. I've got the most magnificent taste of two cultures.
So the relationship would be something like, you know, that your relationship with your mom and with the woman you fell in love with.
अपने देश से तो हमें बहुत प्यार है, लेकिन इस देश से की उतनी ही इज्जत करते हैं जिन्होंने हमें अडॉप्ट किया है कि पालने वाली माँ का हक आप पे कुछ ज़्यादा ही होता है बल्कि जन्म देने वाली माँ से।
I'm proud to sing "O Canada." I'm proud to sing the Indian national anthem. And again, that is the beauty of this country. You have the ability to retain your own culture while at the same time being part of something else. So I'm both a Canadian and an Indian.